In this video, we're going to look at, again, one-step equations and how to solve them. But in this case, instead of addition and subtraction, we're going to deal with multiplying and dividing in order to solve for the equation. So today, hopefully, we'll reinforce the steps for solving one-step equations, and as well as the opposite operations. All right, let's do opposite operations first. This is something we went over before. We can think of the opposite operation to addition to be subtraction, and vice versa. If we have subtraction, the opposite to that would be addition. Multiplication, the opposite is division, and again, vice versa. The opposite of division is multiplication. Now, this is something you're going to have to just remember, memorize, and you know what? It kind of goes with bed mass too. For instance, remember that, sorry, not B, but the multiplication and division go together. They happen before addition and subtraction. Well, I didn't spell bed mass there, but the addition and subtraction kind of go together, and multiplication and division kind of go together, and they're opposites of each other. Okay, let's get right to how to do this. So in a previous video, we went over solving one-step equations with addition and subtraction, and I listed these exact steps. Okay, we follow the same steps when we are dealing with solving one-step equations using multiplication and division. So these are 5 steps you have to get familiar with. And if you're stuck on what to do, you look at step 1, identify the variable. Step 2, identify the operation performed on the variable, etc., etc. So let's go through this with this example I've already written out. So the equation we have here is 7x is equal to 21. Once again, 7x, or 7 times x, is equal to 21. Okay, so remember, with the absence of a symbol between a number and a variable, we assume there is a multiplication there. Well, we don't have to assume, there is. So the multiplication is implied. Okay? So this is the case where, well, let's follow the steps. So step 1, identify the variable. Well, there is the variable right there, it's the x. Step 2, identify the operation performed on the variable. It is this multiplication. Okay, and it's not just the multiplication, we're multiplying it by 7. Okay, so that's step 2. We haven't done any math, all we've done is we've been identifying stuff. All right, step 3. We rewrite the equation and include, I'm going to do this with 2 colors, include the opposite operation on both sides of the equation. All right, so rewrite the equation. So all of this that I'm highlighting in yellow is the rewrite. And include the opposite operation on both sides. So remember, our operation was multiplication, and it's 7 times x, so the operation is 7 times. So the opposite of multiplication is division, and we divide by 7. So that's where this and this comes in. Notice that it happens on both sides of the equation, just like it says in step 3. Okay, step 4. We are asked to, let me get a different color here, perform the operations on the numbers only on each side of the equation. Okay, so let's have a look here. We have 7 divided by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. Why isn't that highlighting? There we go. And on the right side, we have 21 divided by 7. 21 divided by 7 is, of course, 3. So that is step 4. And finally, the last step, we isolate the variable. Well, if we look at what we are at 1 times x. 1 times a number is always that number. And remember, x is a variable, it just represents a number. So 1 times x is just x as well. So we can, let's just get a different color. Number 5 here, we can just write 1 times x as x. Okay? So that is the 5 steps for solving equations. And once you do more and more of these, you get better, and it will become faster and faster. And these these steps will become familiar, and you won't need to have them listed for you. So let's do one more example, and then we'll call it quit. So solve y over 13 is equal to 2. So again, step 1, identify the variable. Step 2, identify the operation on the variable. Here, we're dividing the variable by 13. Okay, so step 3, rewrite the equation. So I'll rewrite it. Y divided by 13 is equal to 2. And include the opposite operation on each side. So it's the opposite of dividing by 13 is multiplying by 13. And we do that on both sides. Okay, so let's highlight this. So I rewrote the equation. So that's this part. And then the next part of that step was to do the following. It was to multiply both sides by the opposite operation. Okay, step 4, perform the operations on the numbers only. Okay, let's do the right side first. 2 times 13 is 26. And on the left side, we have 13, and we have a divided by 13. 13 divided by 13 is 1 times y. So we've done step 4. And finally, step 5, we isolate the variable. So this is the case where 1 times y is still just y. And we have 26 on the other side. So there we go. Y is equal to 26. I hope you found this video helpful.